Well, good day. My name is Martin Tyner with the Southwest Wildlife Foundation. And of course, Belle, the star of the show, our Harris Hawk. She's such a sweet critter. And we've been doing some talks about our wildlife ambassadors and to give you a little background as to kind of who they are, where they came from, a little history of the kind of bird and those kinds of things. So that's kind of what we're going to do today. We're going to talk a little bit about Belle, my Harris hawk, a little bit about falconry. Uh, we're going to talk about some of the previous Harris hawks that I've had. And so, please, if you have questions, please feel free to let us know, and we'll try to answer as many questions as we possibly can.
Well, we've
Well,
got
first,
one really cool comment to start off. We've got someone watching from
sure,
Burma.
from Burma. Wow,
Well, that's old school right now. I can't even say it. I forget I say that. Whatever.
yeah, Miramar.
Miramar. I wanted to say that, but it looked weird. Whatever.
Yeah, it's Miramar,
That's
and
far away
well,
visitor.
that is, and I am Miramar is actually one of the places in the world that I have always wanted to go because I love the elephants and I would love to see the elephants of Miramar, the Burma area, and have that opportunity. But I don't think that's ever going to happen. But welcome to my home in southern Utah. So we're very grateful to have you here. Well, Belle, are you excited as I am to say hi to everybody? Well, Bell is a Harris hawk. The Harris hawks are primarily found in southern Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. They don't usually get as far north as Utah, though this particular bird came out of a captive breeding program. Um, and so she was actually hatched in captivity in just a little bit north of New Orleans, Louisiana. And so she's from the South, so she's my little Southern belle. And that's actually what they call really sweet young ladies in the South. They call them Southern belles. And so that's where she got the name Belle from. The Harris hawk is a unique bird of prey in many respects. Um, Especially here in North America, where the majority of our birds of prey here are primarily brownish colored. Um, we do have some that are darker, but the Harris hawk is with the black, the red shoulders, the red thighs, uh, big white band in its tail, and big white band on its butt. Yellow legs. They're one of the more brightly colored birds of prey that we have here in North America. They are in a classification all their own. In birds of prey, we kind of categorize them um, into three groups or into a few groups. We have the eagles, we have the hawks. The hawks are separated into accipiter and buteo, and then we have the falcons. The Harris hawk is what we call a parabuteo. So it's kind of like a buteo, which is the bigger, broader winged, uh, thick, powerful feet, uh, short or broad rounded wings. But it also takes on some of the characteristics of the accipiter type hawk, where the wings are shorter and rounder. It has a very long tail. It has longer legs, and so it's kind of halfway in between an accipiter hawk and a buteo hawk. And so they're quite unique that way. And they're the only parabuteo, and they're also one of very, very few birds of prey in the world that will hunt in groups like a pack of wolves. Most birds of prey, Mama Hawk does her hunting, brings food back to the nest. Daddy Hawk does his hunting, brings food back to the nest. The Harris Hawk, mom and dad will work together to bring food back to the nest. And even last year's babies will join mom and dad this year to bring food back for this year's babies. And so you do not want to be a cottontail rabbit around Tucson, Arizona, because in Tucson, Arizona, that's kind of the home base for the Harris hawk. And you're out in the fields, and the Harris hawk starts to chase you. You outmaneuver the first hawk. There's a second one right behind it. You outmaneuver the second hawk. There's a third one right behind that. So they hunt in these packs, like a pack of wolves. And I always tell people, if you ever get the chance to go down into Harris Hawk country, down in southern Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas, if you see a Harris Hawk like this sitting on a power pole, their odds are there's going to be three or four more. And park the car and get out your binoculars and just watch and watch how they strategically place themselves around the field, how one hawk will fly down and flush the rabbit, and the other ones will come in from different directions, all attempting to work as a team to catch the rabbit that they're hunting. They're amazingly intelligent. In fact, in my experience, the most intelligent bird of prey that I've ever worked with, and I've worked with a lot of them, has been the golden eagle. They have a tremendous amount of intelligence and personality. They really learn extremely well, and they remember everything. My golden eagle, I swear, remembers every bush that there was a rabbit hiding under. And we go out in the fields, and if I'm not successful flushing rabbits, he'll fly down and go looking at the bushes where he's seen rabbits in the past. He remembers. The Harris hawk is a very close second as far as overall intelligence and personality. Um, they are by far one of the easiest and most enjoyable birds of prey to work with in falconry. And so I feel very grateful that I've got this beautiful young lady. And if all goes well, she should be my hunting companion for the next 20 to 30 years. And so she and I will have a very long friendship. Now, I've been working with Harris hawks. Oh my goodness, I got my first Harris hawk, I believe it was 1975 is when I got my first Harris hawk. And her name was Sierra. It was a big female like this one. And Sierra had a bit of a sad story. This was back when I lived in California, and some teenage boys had raided a Harris hawk nest and stole the baby Harris hawk from its nest. Now that's a really bad thing, and the reason it's such a bad thing is a hawk, a falcon, an eagle, an owl, any bird of prey raised by humans inappropriately, have no fear of humans. That's called imprinting. And a hawk like this that's been imprinted with no fear of humans, if that hawk for any reason gets angry at you, they will hurt you because they have no fear from you, which means no fear of you, which means no respect as well. And so they can be incredibly dangerous. So I have this very big, beautiful Harris hawk. It was stolen from a nest by some teenage boys. It lived in a cage. It was horribly abused. They tortured the poor thing. The hawk ended up with a broken leg. And that's when it came to me, because I'm the one that cares for the critters. And so I could fix the hawk's broken leg, but I could not fix the emotional scars that this Harris hawk had. This hawk was so emotionally disturbed, her favorite thing to hunt was cows. Cows. We would go out in the desert and turn the hawk loose to go chase rabbits. And if there was a cow roaming around out in the desert within a mile, she had to go beat up a cow. She couldn't hurt it, she couldn't kill it, but she would fly after it and she would hit it and bind to it and chase it until the cow took off running, and then she'd come back. But she had to go beat up a cow. This hawk was so disturbed, I had to be very careful with her because she was known for attacking joggers. And so if you flew her anywhere where there were people around, she was very dangerous. She would attack humans. She attacked a farmer on his tractor. She had issues. So we would take her out and we'd let her fly, we'd let her hunt, but we had to make sure that anywhere that we went, there were no people around and no cows. So that she would work with me and hunt with me, and she and I got along wonderfully together. She was just like Belle. She was a dear friend. Yes, just like you, she was a dear friend, and we had a great life together. Well, one day I was coming back from one of our little hunting trips with my hawk Sierra, my old Harris hawk, and we stopped at a gas station to go buy something to drink. And my hawk would ride around on a perch that I would put on the back seat of the car. I had a little Toyota car, the back seat folded down. And when the back seat folded down, she just sat on the perch and she was perfectly happy there. Uh, Walked into the store to buy something to drink. And, and in my little town that I grew up in Southern California, it was a small agricultural community of about 4,000 people. Everybody knew everybody, and everybody was friendly. And if you need to borrow somebody's car or pickup truck, you say, "Hey, can I borrow your car?" Your buddies would say, "Sure." The keys are on the floor. Everybody left the keys of their cars on the floors of their cars because we never worried about anybody stealing our cars. So I had a bad habit. I'd leave my keys on the floor of the car. So I was in the gas station. I bought myself a soda pop. As I came walking out of the store, I heard screaming. And I saw this guy. He was bailing out of my car, just jumping out of the car, screaming. And so I went running across the parking lot. I get to my car, and my hawk is on the ground next to the car. So I picked her up and put her back on her perch on the back seat of the car. And then I noticed that my keys were picked up off the floor and they were put in the ignition. He tried to steal my car. Now, I don't know if he saw the hawk in the back seat. I don't know if he didn't see the hawk or saw the hawk and thought it was stuffed. I don't know what was going through his mind. But can you imagine you jump into a strange car, grab the keys off the floor, put them in the ignition, and you have 8 razor sharp talons puncturing the back of your neck, wings beating, and the most awful growl you've ever heard. Because Harris hawks don't sound like a bird of prey. They have a very, very deep, guttural, terrifying growl. Well, I'm going to assume that's the last car he ever tried to steal, because there were quarter-sized drops of blood going down the street. I'm going to assume that's he's learned his lesson. My my old hawk got the nickname my feathered Doberman Pinscher because she protected my car. So Harris hawks, like I said, they're tremendously intelligent. If they're handled properly, you can't get a better bird of prey for falconry than my Harris hawk is, because they're so intelligent and they're so personable. But if handled inappropriately, these are an incredibly dangerous animal to work with. My sweet wife Susan, and I've told this story before, I'll tell it again. Yes, Belle, we're telling a story. My sweet wife Susan, our very first date, I took her hunting with that old Harris hawk, old Sierra. I'm a romantic kind of a guy. So we get out in the fields. I get my hawk out of the car onto my glove, and as my then girlfriend but now wife approached, my hawk turned around and faced her and growled violently at Susan. Then my hawk turned back around facing me, lifted her tail, and pooped on Susan. That was our first date. She married me anyway. It's her fault. So to imagine my sweet, beautiful wife staying with me for, it's now been 43 years. And I'm so grateful. And she knew what she was getting into when we got married. And again, if people have questions, please we'll answer questions as well.
Well, we have a couple donations to mention. Sherry donated $50 and Anonymous donated $20. And by the way, Sherry just also commented about your date. Coolest date ever.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'll tell you a little secret. I was the world's cheapest date. When I was the curator of birds of prey at Busch Gardens in California, working with all the birds of prey, there was kind of an unwritten rule throughout the zoological community that if a curator from one zoological park went to another zoological park, they would it was just a courtesy to have one of the curators at the park take the visiting curator, and take them around and give them a back behind the scenes tour. And so, I could go to any zoological park or any park that had a zoological facility in it in Southern California. I could go there for free. And so that's where I took a lot of my dates. We'd pack up and drive to any number of amusement parks and zoological parks, and I'd get a VIP treatment with my date and go behind the scenes and all of those kinds of things. Yeah, and so yeah, I was a tough date for anybody to beat. These guys could take girls out on dances and fancy dinners and those kinds of things. Heck, I could take them to San Diego Wild Animal Park and walk them behind the scenes. And after that first date with Susan, after my hawk pooped on her, in fact, I tell people all the time that I have my book, and it's right here. Grab it. And the story about Susan's and my first date is in our book called Healer of Angels. And we talk about my hawk pooping on her, and yeah, is that your book? And Susan told me when we were writing the book, she says, if you're going to tell everybody about the time your hawk pooped on us on our first date, you have to tell everybody about the rest of the first date, so that people know that I wasn't crazy to marry you. And I says, no, the story's funnier where I end the story where you get pooped on. And she says, no, you have to tell everybody about the rest of our first date. And I says, well, Susan, if you want to tell everybody about the rest of our first date, you have to write the story. So she did. And so if anybody wants to learn about the rest of our first date and find out why my sweet, beautiful wife, Susan, decided to marry this crazy animal guy, you got to buy a book. And the sale of the book goes to our wildlife rescue facility to help us feed the animals. And we encourage people, if you can, please order the book off our website. Then we get the profits to help feed the sick, injured, and orphaned wildlife we care for. So this is 40 years of wildlife rescue experience and the wisdom of grandparents, and one other specialty. This is my Eagle Scout that's on the cover of the book, the eagle that I travel with and do our school programs, and I also fly in Falconry. And Scout has autographed the book for everybody. Okay, see if I can show that to you. Oop, go this way. There we go. That's his footprint. And so it's the only book autographed by a wild eagle. And like I said, the profits from the sale of the book help it go to our wildlife rescue facility, help us feed the animals. So that's our book, Healer of Angels. Anyway.
But we should also mention about Amazon, if you can't, because since we can only deliver to the States for that special version.
Yes. We do have the book on Amazon. It's our second printing. From Amazon, you do not get the autographed copy. I'm sorry, with Scout's footprint. But for all of our friends found outside of North America, anywhere else in the world, you can order it on Amazon, and then we still get some profits from the sale of the book, but you don't have to pay shipping, and the shipping costs for North America. Outside of North America, any place else in the world is just it's horrible, and so for anyone around the world that would like to purchase a copy of the book, you can just go on Amazon, order it, and get it shipped to you. The price is the same, and it just saves you a ton of money trying to order. But if you want the autographed copy, then I'm sorry, we will still ship it to you anywhere in the world. But the freight is just terribly expensive.
And also, if you purchase from Amazon, though, make sure you either follow our link down in the description or from our website, because if you just type in Healer of Angels at Amazon, it takes you to some weird old page, and it won't actually be our new version.
Okay, thank you, DG. Yes, yeah, please. You can order the book through Amazon off our website, and that'll get you the link to the new page. Not the old page that should have been disassembled and gone, but it's still up.
And
So go
we
ahead.
got another donation from Deb K. She sent in $50.
Oh, thank you, Deb. That's so very kind, and we always appreciate. That's how we feed the animals, is through everyone's kindness and generosity,
And
and Belle appreciates it.
I've got a question about how you said that Belle hunts in a group and she's willing to deal with other people around. How much, like, and you've mentioned that Scout sometimes in the field doesn't like people around. So I'm wondering how much is about Scout personality or history versus Belle personality or history, like as far as like Belle seems so more accommodating to people out in the field.
Well, yeah, very, very much. They're completely different birds. Golden eagles hunt at in as a solitary hunter, so they're not comfortable around lots of people anyway. Even though they do hunt them in Mongolia, and they do have big golden eagle festivals throughout Mongolia and actually in Eastern Europe as well. Um, but there are people that it seems like at every one of these meets somebody gets attacked by an eagle, and so that's something that's kind of within their nature. They If you offend an eagle will never forgive and never forget. And uh, and for many years, Scout and I flew, and we did a great job and everything. And we had we had visitors come out, and yeah, she needed to poop, so I moved her, made sure she was up middle of her plastic. Anyway, the uh, eagles can be dangerous to work with, especially around strangers. And unfortunately, I was doing a photo shoot for a photographer that wanted pictures of my eagle flying, and so Scout was up, and he was sorry, and everything was fine. And the photographer was he was, or she was a female. She was rude. Um, she kind of bumped into us as we were walking along. She just wasn't careful. She wasn't very savvy when it came to working with wild animals. Um, when I would call Scout down, she'd run up to the camera, stick the camera in his face, and really tick him off. And he just got really angry with her, but he didn't hurt her or anything. But he was obviously horribly offended. And then the next day, I had another photographer came in that wanted to get some pictures of Scout flying. So we put him up, and he was doing fine and soaring around, and everything looked okay. And so the photographer wanted me to call the eagle in, so the eagle would fly over his head to get some shots of the eagle coming in on a dive. And so I threw up my eagle's toy, his lure, and my eagle went into a wonderful dive, and everything was fine. And he was taking pictures. And my eagle remembered the day before, and the other photographer. And fortunately, it was winter time, and the photographer was wearing, a really heavy coat and a hat and everything else. Anyway, Scout came down and grabbed him, and I was right there and got Scout off, and he didn't hurt the guy. He got scared him, but didn't really hurt him. But that's the last time I've taken Scout out with strangers in the field, um, because, like I said, he is a wild animal. Um, if they do get offended, they don't forget that. Um, Belle, on the other hand, since she's more sociable and she's used to working in groups, and I have taken people out with her, um, letting her hunt and giving other people gloves to wear, and telling people, while we're out in the field, if you hear her bells dingling behind you, just hold your hand up, and she'll land on your glove, and she'll use you for a portable perch, just like she uses me. And so don't try to pet her. You don't want to bug her, because if you bug her, she'll never land on your glove again. But as long as you don't offend her, you're perfectly safe. And she does allow strangers to come hawking with us. So that's kind of the difference in their personalities.
We got
So,
another donation from Andy at $20, and my dogs are going crazy too, but we're back.
well, thank you, Andy. Thank you so very much. We greatly appreciate it. Now, I've been getting some questions and comments about falconry and about the history and why in God's grace would anybody want to do this? And so why don't I spend a little time? And please, if you have questions, just jump in and I'll be happy to answer them for you.
Yeah, we got more questions
Falconry.
on. We got more questions queued up here.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, how about where do Harris hawks like to build their nests?
Harris hawks prefer to build their nest in trees, and even some Harris hawks have built their nests on top of tall saguaro cactuses down in Arizona. But mostly it's trees and not forest, just kind of like a tree line out in the open desert.
So, Belle, Scout, and Helen are in your house a lot. What does Cody think of your feathered friends? Is Cody always kept separate from them?
Well, Cody has a respect for them. He knows that if he gets too silly, the birds will let him know, put him in his place. And as a young puppy, they've lunged at him a few times and scared him. He's never been grabbed or hurt, but he has tremendous respect, not to step out of line when I've got these birds with me, because these are not something that you want to play with, especially my eagle.
How big can a Harris hawk's pack get? Do they stay in the same pack throughout their lives, or do they intermingle with other packs?
Let me turn that phone off. Well, they do. The pack is fairly small. Okay, turned off the phone in here. Their pack is family, which basically means it's mom and dad and chicks is their pack. They don't. Once the chicks are full grown, they might hang around with mom and dad for another year or two until they are sexually mature. And then once they're sexually mature, then they will go and start their own family, and they'll no longer be part of the group. So it's you may see as much as 4 or 5 Harris hawks in a group, but you're not going to see 20 or 30.
Oh, you caught me browsing the other comments. I wanted to mention that our friend Anani, I think is right. Anani is reminds us that Amazon Smile gives to the Go Wildlife Foundation as well. And she also kind of has a question that's unrelated at the moment, but she asks, "When will your eyes be fixed?"
When will my eyes get fixed? Okay, right now, for those of you that don't know, I'm old, obviously, and basically cataracts run in my family, and I'm developing cataracts, and I will be going on this coming Wednesday, the 26th of this month, to sit down with the surgical ophthalmologist and talk about what my options are and how soon or late. Come on in. Somebody's at my door.
We've got company. Shall we roll a movie for a minute, or?
Yeah, run a video for a minute. I'll be right back.
All right, so let's look at some saw weights here. This is video from 2017. Sorry about the interruption, guys.
Who wants to eat?
These guys were rescued from a tree that had been cut down, and then once it was already down and they were cutting it up, that's when they discovered them and took them over to Martin.
You stand up and then lay over like a scared little thing. I know you're not scared. There you go. Your brother's gonna chew my finger. Yes, he is. Yes, you're gonna chew my fingers. There you go.
Okay, looks like Martin is back and ready. So let's bring him back in, and let's get you unmuted. Martin, are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready. That little solid owl is beautiful. I apologize. I had a volunteer that's been doing some work for us, tearing down an old chamber that we're replacing, and he's finished, and he wanted me to come out and inspect stuff, and he was a little disappointed because I'm in the middle of a podcast and I couldn't do that. So, he's done a really terrific job. We appreciate all the volunteers that help us. It means a lot to us. Anyway, where were we?
I have no idea. We were looking at little Sawed, so I kind of forgot everything. But
Oh,
here's a
oh,
question from JX: Are Bell's feathers protected by law like eagle's feathers?
all bird of prey feathers are protected by law. Whether it's hawk, eagle, falcons, owls, you are not supposed to have them. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service makes a much bigger deal out of eagle feathers than they do out of other bird of prey feathers. But if you put a red-tailed hawk feather in your hat and go walking around town, a game warden can. Will he? I don't know, but he could give you a ticket for that.
Okay, I'm not sure if we mentioned. I got another anonymous donation of $20, and then Laura T donated $50. And by the way, we were talking about your eyeballs.
Oh, that's right, about my eyeballs. And thanks, Laura, and thank you, Nana Stoner, for the donations. We greatly appreciate it. Yes, I go in this coming Wednesday to sit down and have a consultation and see where we go from there. Um, it's my hope that we will do the cataract surgery. Um, I do have problems, even, I mean, like right now, even with my glasses on, the computer screen is blurry. It's just getting harder and harder to kind of get in the right place where I can actually see things. And so I'm kind of hoping that we'll get that taken care of. And it's a little bit terrifying to me to think that somebody's going to slice open my eyeball and take the lens out and put a new lens in. But everyone says that it's a really really easy surgery, and it's something that is incredibly successful. So we're looking forward to hopefully getting that done.
Okay, morning. What has the spring birth rate and care of young animals and birds this year been like?
Uh, the baby season that we've got going right now, uh, on the slow side. Uh, Utah is certainly in a very very severe drought. Because of the drought, we're just not getting the numbers of birds and mammals babies that we would normally get. Last year, we ended up with hemorrhagic rabbit fever that knocked down the jackrabbit population dramatically, and so the rabbits are low. And when the rodents populations are down, and then the birds, the apex predators like the birds of prey, they don't have the food for their babies, and so their numbers are down. So it's a pretty tough year. We've had an interesting year. We've had several hummingbirds in, which has been interesting more so than anything else. We've got a whole series of hummingbirds that hit windows in different parts of Utah that came in. We've got some baby hummingbirds that were only like a day old that were hand raising. We got baby roadrunners. This is the first clutch of baby roadrunners that I've ever had come into our rescue center. So we've got three baby roadrunners that we're raising, and then the house finches and all of the other small songbirds. We're certainly getting our fair share, but not the in the huge numbers. We did have a, a few baby chipmunks come in, but we've not had a single jackrabbit or cottontail baby come in because their numbers are down. So right now here in southern Utah, the wildlife is suffering because of the drought, and so the numbers of rescues are down.
But this is just part of the normal cyclical process. Some years are great, some years are harder.
Well, and that's true. The 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 drought is really taking its toll, and whether we're talking about global warming or something else along those lines. But right now, Utah is certainly in the worst drought in recorded history here in the state, and so that's definitely affecting the native wildlife populations.
Okay. Rita asks, has Belle ever laid eggs?
Belle has never laid an egg, and actually, she's just not even quite old enough yet. Next year she would be old enough to breed, but at this time she did not. Now I used to have a pair of Harris hawks that I raised babies with, and this was a pair of Harris hawks I got from a BLM biologist who had them that was completely unsuccessful, and gave me the pair, and we were very successful at raising the babies, and so we had uh, Harris hawks that we provided for falconers throughout the country for a number of years. Um, and in fact, in several stories in my book and videos, there's about a Harris hawk named Thumper, and Thumper was my last baby that came out of my captive breeding program, and I've got his picture right here. It's okay, Bill. I know. This is there you go. This is Thumper. Turn it this way, I guess. There we go. There's Thumper catching a rabbit. And this is Thumper. He was my last baby out of my captive breeding program, and that's his first year. That's when he was less than a year old, out catching rabbits. Anyway, Thumper was just like Belle, a very very dear friend of mine, and Thumper and I were together for 29 years. He passed away at 29. The average life expectancy of a Harris hawk like this in the wild is 7 to 10 years, and in captivity we can 10 to 20 years, and he was 29. So he was very very old, and just an absolute dear friend, and just like Belle, slept in the house because cold weather is hard on these guys, and just he was just pretty much an old retired hunting dog, but hunting bird instead. Oh, yes, she was, and he was a good friend. Go ahead and we'll get another question.
Okay. What motivates you and Susan to continue doing what you have been doing for so many years? Do you ever feel tired in your years of service to critters? May God bless you both and give you both long life.
It really goes back to the way I was raised. It goes back to something that I learned from my grandfather. My grandfather, was the greatest man I've ever known. He drove a laundry truck. He had so much wisdom, and I was very grateful for the time that I was able to spend with my grandfather. And my grandfather believed very, very strongly that if you break something, you have a moral and ethical obligation to repair what you have broken. And here on this beautiful planet that we live on, um, the vast majority of damage to wildlife is human caused. And so right now we have this terrible drought, and there's, we can't do anything about that. But the majority of problems, are, you know, uh, glass windows, electrocutions, barbed wire fences, automobiles, those, people shooting stuff that they shouldn't be shooting. And so we as a species, we have a moral and ethical obligation, um, to try to repair the damage that we do. And so it has just been kind of my life's work. Um, whenever these guys are hurt, to try to nurse them back to health and get them back in the wild. And to be honest with you, that has given me an incredibly satisfying life to know um, that there are an awful lot of critters back out in the wild, that are there for the sole reason that my beautiful wife Susan and I live here, and that we've dedicated our lives to them. And that's a really good feeling.
Hey, Birds Rebecca asked, does Belle know when the storm is coming?
Does she know when a storm is coming? She really doesn't. She may, but she doesn't really signal me too much, as far as uh, weather conditions and those kinds of things. Scout is a little more sensitive as far as telling me that that things are changing, because his behavior changes and kind of alerts me if I think it has to do a lot with barometric pressure. When there's a low pressure and the storm's coming, um, Scout is a little more agitated and feels like he needs to hunt before the storm arrives. But when it's high pressure and calm and warm, uh, he's kind of a couch potato. And so he demonstrates a little bit more than Belle does.
Okay, we've got a question here about our Slow Down for Eagles videos. Have you ever tried to get the government to put up signage to require slowing down to drive around any of the birds of the roadways, or large billboards which advise this for drivers?
I have. There is a highway in Colorado that has signs saying, you know, caution, eagle crossing. And I just thought that was a wonderful idea. And I have talked to the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources. I've talked to the Department of Transportation, and says, that's the number one injury to eagles here in Utah, is being hit by cars and out in critical eagle habitat. Wouldn't it be wonderful to put up these signs? And basically they say they don't have the budget for it, and that would have to be approved, before the Utah State Legislature, and it would be a whole political kind of a thing that we would have to do. Uh, and to be honest with you, I don't like politics. I prefer just to take care of the critters. But if anybody in Utah wants to start a campaign, or even nationwide start a campaign, posting "Please slow down for eagles on the highway" kind of a sign, I think that'd be wonderful.
Well, we've got a comment back when you were talking about your eyeballs from Misagram. I just had cataract surgery 2 weeks ago. Very easy. My eyesight improved immediately, and it is amazing to see so much better again.
And thank you, and that helps a lot, and that's pretty much the story that I've been getting from virtually everybody, is that the surgery is a piece of cake, and the benefits are really significant. And so yeah, I'm hoping that that's the case. And but nevertheless, when you're talking to a wimpy old guy that hates to get, looks at a needle and just almost cringes because someone's going to give you a shot, I don't mind having an eagle stick its talons all the way through my head. That's fine. I could deal with that. But I just don't like the idea of needles. And yes, I am fully vaccinated. Thank you very much, and proud to say so. But the idea of somebody, basically taking a knife and putting holes in my eyes and taking out the lens and putting new lenses in. I know it's really, really good, and the surgery is very, very safe, but it's still, I cringe.
So we're about 45 minutes into this. Did you want to touch on your other topic? You were going to say something about falconry, I think, before we started taking all the questions.
If would people like that me to talk a little bit about the history of falconry and kind of what I've learned from falconry, or do we want to continue where we're at?
Well, there's a 30-second delay, so I really can't be sure for about another
Okay.
25 more seconds. So, how about we give
Well,
it a
well,
shot? And
let's.
if we get a bunch of people leaving or thumbs down if you're talking about falconry, then we'll know, oops.
Okay, we will do that. Falconry. I've been asked, a little bit to talk a little bit about the history of falconry. Falconry is incredibly old. Um, the earliest written documentation we have on falconry was in China more than 4,000 years ago. And certainly falconry dates back far longer than that. But in China, 4,000 years ago, falconry was a way to provide food for the village. If you lived in a small village in China 4,000 years ago, you weren't allowed to have anything that you could use for a weapon. So you could nothing you could hunt with. So no spears, no bows and arrows, no swords, no nothing that you could hunt with. And so there was an old guy like me in most small villages that was trained in falconry and had a hawk like this or a falcon, and they would go out through the fields hunting rabbits and pheasants and ducks to bring meat back to the village. And so falconry is incredibly traditional, and falconry has been such a major portion of my life. It has taught me so much. I wouldn't be who I am if I hadn't practiced falconry. And it is everything I do revolves around what I have learned in falconry. And the first thing that you learn in falconry that is so very, very important is patience. You do have to understand, that these are intelligent apex predators and they have a mind of their own. And you have to be able to adapt um, your lifestyle to match their lifestyle. See, we don't own these birds. We don't own them. We don't master them. These are um, they're not our possessions. Uh, this is a good falconer will admit. This is the hunter, and and I'm the dog. I my whole life job's life is to serve the birds of prey. I have chosen to bring them into my captivity, and so it is my responsibility to meet all of their needs for as long as they want to keep me, because they do fly free and they can leave whenever they want. And so as long as they want to keep me, then I need to serve them well. And that is something that uh, I have applied throughout my entire life. That my sweet beautiful wife Susan, um, you know, she is she may be my wife, but it's even more important that I am her husband. That I do not own her. That I have complete and utter respect for her, and that my whole job in life is to basically provide for Susan and all of her needs. And this is why Susan and I have such an amazing relationship and marriage, because Susan treats me with the same kind of honor and respect that I treat her. And I am so grateful to have such an amazing partner to go through life with. Um, our children, it's the same thing. I do not the, I do not own my children. My children do not serve my needs. You know, um, when Susan and I had our first child, which is my daughter Vicky, um, our entire life changed to understand that everything from that moment on has to do with meeting the needs of my children. And now I have six grandchildren, and meeting the needs of my grandchildren and providing them with a life um, that they can grow and develop and flourish and be really really good members of society. And I learned that from falconry. I learned that how to care for these animals and how to respect them. Um, and so falconry has many many lessons. And the little talk that we're having right now, I have this talk with my students when I have a new apprentice falconer. We sit down, we have this long talk about how, we don't own these birds, and how we have to respect them. There's no such thing in falconry as a bad hawk. It doesn't exist. Um, there are just bad falconers, because a bad falconer is not able to adapt his lifestyle and his training methods to meet the needs of the bird of prey. And if the bird of prey doesn't have its needs met, it doesn't. You just don't have the relationship, and things just don't work. And so there's a real kind of a deep um, sense of servitude when you're dealing with these animals. And it's not just the birds of prey, even though falconry is kind of the pinnacle of human animal interaction and behavior, because these guys are completely free and they can go back to the wild anytime they want. Where most animals are kept in captivity, so to speak. Cody's a great example. We love Cody to death, and he has a tremendous amount of freedom. But Cody um, doesn't isn't a wild animal that can return to the wild anytime he wants. He is a domestic animal and a dear friend. And I know I got scolded the other day by somebody who says you should stop calling him Dum Dum. You should call him Lucky Dog, because he has a family that loves him. And Cody, I believe there's no such thing as an outdoor dog. Cody sleeps in the house. I sometimes have to fight for the couch, because if he has the right to sleep on any piece of furniture he wants. And of course at nighttime, he likes to grab one of his favorite toys as soon as it's bedtime, and run in and jump up on the bed and sit down and cuddle with his toy. And then Susan and I have to nudge him aside so that we can get in. But it's that relationship and friendship that makes working with these animals so special. And I talk people out of becoming falconers, because we find so very often people believe, Disney, that, like in the movie Bambi, where the great horned owl and Thumper the rabbit are best friends. Well, no, the great horned owl in the wild will eat Thumper the rabbit. That's um, and Disney has taken animals and given them human voices, and because they've given them human voices, they took away the animal's voice. And most people have a hard time understanding that the relationship that we have is certainly one out of mutual respect, but this is still very much a wild animal, and she certainly has the right to fly away. She also has the right, if she gets mad at me for any reason, to hurt me, and if she does, it's my fault. It you know the It is never ever the animal's fault. It's always the falconer, the trainer. It's their fault, because they have obviously done something wrong in order for the animal to hurt you.
So we've got
So anyway,
two. We've got two donations that come in. One from Judy K. She donated $20, and another anonymous donation of $10. And we should mention that YouTube gives 100% of this money to us. They cover all the fees of transfer.
well, and thank you, Judy, and thank you, Anonymous, as well. And yes, we're so grateful. Like I said, the way we're set up is we get 100% of your donation, and so it helps us tremendously, especially when we're on the verge of some really, really great news. And we're going to put a video. We haven't done it yet. We're going to put a video together to talk about where the foundation is going on. We've got some very exciting news coming up.
Yeah, and whose fault is
uh,
that it's not ready yet?
I know. We just need to sit down and make the official announcement, um, about our new big project. And so I hope that DG and I will be able to get it and do it very, very soon, so that we can bring everybody up to speed on where we're going with the Wildlife Foundation.
So we have a comment from Tara who says, "We love Susan too."
Yeah, Susan is just the most amazing person that I've ever met. She truly is the love of my life, and and I certainly can't explain, and nobody's been able to explain to me, why in God's green earth such an amazing person would put up with me, but she does, and I'm grateful.
And Seabass says, "Hi, Martin. Hi, Belle."
Hello, say hi, Belle.
Sherry says, "Talk about anything you like, Martin. All of it is enjoyable."
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And we did not get any dislikes for talking about falconry.
Well, I'm glad. Like I said, it is such an important life part of my life. Such an important part of the human experience. Like I said, it dates back more than 4,000 years. Um, in most great civilizations, falconry has been practiced in one form or another. Um, these are the animals that have inspired us to fly. Um, when I was a young child, um, I basically had three things as a young child I was really interested in: um, dinosaurs, birds, animals, and aviation. And so I've gotten my pilot's license, um, and I have dedicated my life to working with these avian dinosaurs. And so, what more could anybody ask than to spend one's life doing something wonderful with the animals that mean so much to them?
We've got a comment from Leia. "Aside from your falconry videos, I saw one falconry video where they showed horseback falconry in Mongolia."
And that's true. The Mongolians have been flying eagles for thousands of years, um, and they do hunt them on horseback, hunt with them on horseback. Um, I've actually got a Mongolian eagle falconer who has sent me emails occasionally from his yurt in Eastern Asia, the steppes of Russia. He herds reindeer, kind of a thing. And the thing that's very, very sad, is he has far better internet than I do, and because they don't have telephone lines. See, my internet runs through the telephone lines, and my internet is very, very poor, but they run them from cell phone towers and satellites and satellite dishes and that kind of stuff. And so it's amazing, in the middle of nowhere in a yurt, uh, that this gentleman can send me information about his falconry. And I think it's wonderful.
A question from Birds Rebecca. Belle, does it scare the jackrabbits away when she's hunting?"
Well, actually, no. The you have to remember that Belle will chase a rabbit, and when she sees a rabbit take off running, she goes after it. So the rabbit has already taken off running, and it's my job to scare the rabbits. I'm the one that goes out with a stick hitting bushes, flushing out rabbits for her to catch. And so when the rabbit takes off running, the bells mean nothing because the rabbit already knows that the hawk is on its way. All that the bell does is when she catches a rabbit, and she might chase a rabbit 200-300 yards, 400 yards away, and we're in very, very tall brush. And so I walk the direction that she has flown, and I listen. And when she catches a rabbit and she kills it and she starts to eat it, she'll pluck. And as she's plucking, the sound of the bell rings. And that helps to me to kind of locate her in the heavy brush. So the bells serve a good purpose, but they do nothing to frighten the rabbits. That's my job.
So one last comment here from O, who reminds me, she says, or he or she says, "Please send out a subscription reminder next time there's a podcast. It really helps, especially since it's a fundraiser. Thanks." And we did. It was on the site, and sometimes it just doesn't get through. So, and this is actually the second time I've seen this in the last hour. We also have at our website, you can go to /lists, and we have 2 lists. We have one where it's a monthly, where we kind of just go over everything with the month, and the other one is as it happens. So like yesterday, we send out a notice about this happening, as well as every time we update something, or it's just kind of the as it happens type of thing. Every once in a while, if we're thinking about something, we'll just throw it out to this list and say, what do you think about this? So just a reminder, just check that out at the gowildlife.org/lists, or just look on every single page at the bottom. There's places to sign up for our mail lists. So that's we're an hour into it, Martin.
Okay, and one other thing for those that are on that special list, these are the people that are in the know. These are the people that, when we have an issue or we have a decision that we need to make, especially if it's a big decision, we will send out feelers on this in the know list and say, hey, here's what we're planning. What do you guys think? Because we really respect all of you and your opinions and your help, your donations, and so we really love to have your input as to how the foundation is progressing and the direction that it's going. And so, yeah, get on that in the know list, and please stay in touch with us. And then, of course, you can go to the website and you can email me personally, and we do try to answer as many emails as we possibly can and respond back. But even if we don't respond back, your input does help guide my Wildlife Foundation, and we're so grateful to all of you. Well, if there's not any more questions, we'll go ahead and call it a day. Belle is ready for breakfast. She hasn't had her breakfast yet this morning, so we need to get her out and get her breakfast. A pretty girl.